Something I see a lot that I thought would be great to do video on is women who are in traumatic relationships, meaning maybe they're being verbally abused, financially, physically, etc., and maybe even not being abused, but they're in a dynamic that is not healthy, which I would call a traumatic relationship. So something that I see a lot is women who struggle to leave because they're worried about finding someone else and either ending up in another relationship with someone toxic or not finding anyone at all. And I thought, let's address this because, like, there's so many things here. So, first, you do not need another person to be worthy or good enough to prove your worth. We sometimes get these programs when we're growing up that tell us especially like, I grew up in the 80s, very Disney time. And, I definitely thought my life didn't begin until I had my prince to come save me. So I think it's important to take a look at, why do I think I need a partner to be whole, or why do I think I need a partner, period. Maybe you don't even realize that you want another partner to complete you. You just know, I need a partner. So something really empowering that does take some time, but it's a way to ensure you don't end up in a traumatic relationship again. And that is empowering yourself to give yourself everything you need, because everything that we need can be found within ourselves if we know how to do it. So something that I encourage my clients to do is a lot of self-love practices, self-trust, especially self-trust. I think a lot of women I work with are, exiting these toxic type of relationships, and they're worried about ending up in another one because they don't trust themselves. And the reason we lose trust for ourselves, or one of the reasons, is because we allow other people to cross our boundaries. So one of the first steps is to think about, what are your boundaries? I mean, we weren't taught this, and I didn't even know what boundaries were for a really long time, and didn't realize that I was people pleasing and being codependent and not even knowing what I wanted my boundaries to be, or what they were, or how I felt. I mean, even to the point of like, actually, I got called out on, which was good. But I would say, like, oh yeah, I'll go to that movie with you, with no intention of going to that movie. I didn't want to see that movie, but I needed to please that other person and needed to, make them think I wanted to go. And then I just sort of left it up to them to make the plans, and never pushed it, never brought it up again, even though, quote unquote, I wanted to see the movie. And then we never would go. And I think even sometimes I would, say, oh, I can't go then, or whatever. And, that wasn't very fair to my partner. And had I just expressed what I actually wanted, which was to not see that movie, my partner could have gone and saw it by himself, right? Like he was okay with that. So I think something important is to know what your boundaries are, and to understand that it is okay to enforce your boundaries. And as you work through life, and this is in all aspects of your life, you can have boundaries with your family, you can have boundaries with your friends. I mean, think about, the don't talk religions and politics at Thanksgiving, right? Since I'm making this right before Thanksgiving. So why do we have that boundary? And we have that boundary because we want to have a nice time with our family, and those two subjects tend to be divisive, right? So why don't we just have a good time and focus on things that we, align with? Because a discussion at Thanksgiving is not going to change anyone's mind. everyone's egos are going to get activated. Everybody needs to make the other person wrong. And it's not constructive at all. It's not that. It's kind of toxic, really, to know that, hey, I'm on one side, you're on the other, and like, let's just respect each other. You believe what you want to believe. It's not my job to, change someone's mind about their religion or their politics. So having boundaries is really important in the healing process, and that will build self-trust. So as you, let's say, somebody asks you to help at an event or something, and you just don't want to, having a boundary and respecting yourself means you say no. And even getting to the point, which I'm working on myself, to not say I'm sorry. You don't have to say I'm sorry, I don't want to do something. like we're supposed to do everything everyone asks us. Like, no, that's not how the world works. They're asking because they're like, hey, do you want to do this? And you're perfectly to say, no, I don't. And you can leave it at that. And we tend to over explain. And unless someone asks for the explanation, you don't need to give it. Like, no, I don't want to go. Cool. I know when I ask people, hey, do you want to do this thing? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. It doesn't change what I'm going to do. And that's because I've decided I'm putting myself first. I'm doing what I want to do. If other people want to join me, awesome. If they don't, awesome. It doesn't matter. It's neutral. And getting to that place, what it does is it empowers you to then, as you go out into the world, and let's say you leave this partner that's toxic and you've done some work, you've felt your feelings, you've, done all the things that maybe you needed to do to feel like you could even date. My last breakup, I took well over 2 months to, really let myself feel what I needed to feel and go through what I needed to go through. And yeah, that's not fun, but it is what it is, and it's necessary. So as you start getting out there, you can say, no, I have this boundary. And a little boundary that I have is I don't want someone calling me terms of endearment when we've never met. Like, don't call me beautiful, gorgeous, sexy, whatever. I don't care. A boundary I have is I don't want to be called those things when you've never met me in person and you don't know me and we're not actually in a intimate relationship of any sort. I don't want to be called those things. I don't want a good morning beautiful every day. I don't need your validation to tell me that I'm beautiful and awesome, because I know I am. So when you get to this place of like, I don't need that, I don't want that even, then you express that boundary. So I was talking to someone, he was pulling that, and I did want to meet him. So I was just like, hey, I really don't enjoy that. And, this is a boundary I have, basically, not in so many words, but, that's essentially what I said. And, and he did pretty well at respecting that for a few days, and then started that again. And, I'm like, hey, remember, like, I don't want the hey sexy text. Like, it makes me feel weird and I don't like it. And, so that was strike one because he crossed a boundary that I had clearly expressed and that he acknowledged. And that's okay. Sometimes we have those habits, but no, I don't need that. I don't want that. And it really makes me not like you. It makes me not want to date you or meet you when you do that. So I met him and, just didn't have a spark, and that's okay. He's a nice guy. And, instead of saying yes to a second date, like the old version of me would have done, I was just very upfront and said, I'm just not feeling it. And I hope he appreciated that. He never responded back. I actually would have liked to have known him better and been friends, and maybe something would have developed later. I don't know. But, is what it is. I'm not going to cry about it. But that's how having boundaries helps you. You don't end up saying yes to something that you don't want to say yes to. And so when you're healing from a relationship and you're starting to get back out there, that's where it's important. I had one client ask me, she's like, well, how do you say no to that second date? And I'm like, you just say no. You just say, sorry, wasn't feeling the spark. I think you're a nice person, or be honest. I mean, obviously you're not gonna say like, oh, I thought you were a big asshole or whatever, but just be honest of kind. I think because sometimes just somebody's not our kind of person, and that there's nothing wrong with them. It's just you don't mesh well, and that's okay. It's fine. That happens all the time. So for anyone who is getting out there, you're starting to date, or you are in a relationship and you're scared to leave because you're scared about ending up in another bad relationship, or you're scared of, are you too old or whatever. Like, I promise you, you're not. When you get to that place, the key is not to jump into another relationship. The key is to spend some time by yourself and get into a place where you love spending time by yourself, where you love yourself, where you take care of yourself. And while it's nice to have someone in your life, and it's nice to have someone to spend time with, romantically, it's getting to that place where it's not something you quote unquote need, right? Like, I don't need another person in my life. Is it nice to have another person? Absolutely. Is it nice to love someone? Absolutely. But I'm not so desperate that the first person that wants to be with me is who I just jump into a relationship with. And getting to a place where you're very discerning, and where you don't excuse red flags. Like one gentleman I was talking to, I hadn't messaged him for a day. I mean, we're on an app, like, I'm busy. I don't like, if I don't have something interesting to say, I'm not going to just message you like, hi. Like, that's boring. So he was like, oh, I thought you weren't interested anymore. I'm like, because I didn't message you for a day. Like, I mean, you didn't message me either. Like, it's a two-way street. And if you had something to say or something to ask me to know me better, like, I would absolutely have answered. But, I didn't have anything new to say. So, that was a red flag to me. That told me, okay, this person's probably dealing with some insecurities, and which is fine. I certainly have my own insecurities, but do I want to pursue something with someone who literally, almost freaks out after a day? Like, probably not my kind of person. I want somebody who's secure, right? So not excusing those little things and just seeing, okay, that's just, okay, note to self. And I do, give people chances, but you eventually get to this place where you can learn to see these signs. And some of these things may be things that you've done yourself. A lot of the things that I've noticed are things I've done myself. I'm like, oh, I used to do that, and this is why I was doing that. Okay, so probably not a good match. Cool, no big deal. So all of that to say is there is hope. And if you choose to be in another relationship and you choose to pursue another relationship, you can certainly find someone, but you want to find them from a place of being sure in yourself, trusting your instincts, trusting your gut. Because if you get that gut feeling like, oh, there's something off with this person, listen. Our gut talks to us. Our gut is our second brain. Actually, I'd call it the first brain. And it's important to listen to our body telling us things. I mean, our bodies will talk to us. Our bodies will communicate, hey, something's not right here, if you're willing to listen to it. And notice what happens. Notice, do I feel safe with this person? And do I actually feel safe? Now, sometimes our nervous system is so disrupted by the things that have happened in the past, maybe we're not able to feel safe. And that's why the healing work is so important. It's important to get to that place where, at a minimum, if you can feel safe alone and you can feel safe by yourself, then you know what it's like to feel safe, and you'll know if you feel safe with another person or if you don't feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, then proceed with caution. And sometimes we can grow to feel safe with someone because, because everybody's different. I mean, I'm very demisexual and sapiosexual, meaning I need to have that emotional connection and I need to be able to have an intelligent conversation with someone. And so I do need to get to know someone a little bit longer. And I maybe don't feel immediately super safe with someone where eventually that could grow. But also, we need to understand if we are, ignoring or reframing red flags that we've seen, and notice that. So if you're struggling with, I don't want to leave because I won't find anyone else, or I'm never going to find another relationship, stop doing that to yourself. Why would you stay with someone who's not making you feel good? Why would you do that to yourself? Just stop it. Explore, why am I doing this to myself? I mean, I had to do that. Why am I doing this to myself? Is it guilt? Is it that fear of not finding another person and I just need someone? Like, you don't just need someone. You need someone who makes you feel safe and secure and who treats you with respect and who respects your boundaries and who is someone who supports you and who you can have an emotional and physical connection with. Both of those aspects of a relationship are important. And if you're not getting those needs met now, then maybe it's time to go and, be by yourself for a while and find that security in yourself so that you don't second guess yourself. You are secure within yourself. You trust yourself. And part of the healing process is getting out there and is exploring other relationships, even exploring friendships and learning how to be vulnerable and open and create good emotional connections with other men and women in a friendly way. Having friends and having community is important to us. We are humans. We are, basically, we're tribal beings. We need community. And I think that's something that, going through COVID showed us, was how much we need each other and that we need to see each other in person and we need to connect. And so respect that about yourself and understand that just because we need community doesn't mean we need anybody in that community. It means we can discern who makes us feel good, who is supportive, who raises us up, who makes us feel important, who makes us feel seen, and have those people come into your life and allow yourself to let go of the people who don't make you feel that way, even if they're your family. It's okay to allow people who don't make you feel good to exit your life, and it's okay to talk to them once a year if that's what it is. And while that other person may feel sad about that, if they actually wanted to do something about it, they would talk to you. And if they're not in a place to do that, well, you've done the work to get yourself in a good place. And it's, not my circus, not my monkeys when it comes to somebody else's journey. We need to respect their journey. So all that to say, I saw a post on Facebook about, somebody being worried about finding another person and do I even know how to be in a healthy relationship? And you may not. And that's what you will learn, as you would figure out your attachment style and, okay, how do I work with that? And that is when you expand yourself, is as you are able to take a look at yourself and look at, okay, my attachment style was disorganized, fearful, avoidant. So I had to work through actually learning how to be vulnerable, how to express myself, how to say I wasn't okay with the situation. And I had a great boyfriend who came into my life at the time I was ready to do this work. And I was able to express myself, and he did trigger me, and I'm sure I triggered him. And, we were able to, at least on my end, I was able to express myself and say, hey, can we have a conversation? Can we sit down and talk about something? And we did. And it was great to, be in that space. And then eventually our time was up and it was really sad. But that's the nature sometimes of our relationships. I had somebody ask me about soul contracts, and, the thing about a soulmate or a soul contract is that it doesn't mean it's for life. I mean, I think my ex-husband absolutely is one of my soulmates, and we had, an agreement of, things that each of us maybe wanted to learn and expand in this life while we were with each other, and we did. And then our time was up, and it was time to, get divorced. And I think the universe really pushes us and makes us really, really uncomfortable until we finally wake up and move and get out of it, and choose to listen to our body. I mean, it's amazing to me how much my body, like how much I realized my body's just, screaming at me. And so if you can take that time to understand yourself, do some healing, and then get out there with open eyes and see, okay, what are my patterns? What patterns are still coming up? The work to grow never ends. It's an ongoing process, and it just goes deeper and deeper, and you're never not going to be triggered because it's living in your nervous system, but you get better at snapping out of that trigger. You get triggered and you can immediately go, oh, I know what that is. Just my nervous system. It's not true. It's not real, whatever. And, you can move through it differently. And that's certainly been something I've noticed in myself over the years that I've been doing this work. So, anyway, I just want to encourage anybody who's staying in their relationship because they're afraid of not finding someone else to just consider, be open to that. Maybe you're your own best friend. Maybe you're your own best everything. You're your own best support. And when you can embody that and learn to trust yourself, because that's probably one of the biggest issues I've seen, is not trusting ourselves. If you can get to that place where you trust yourself, you are so empowered, and you will then, sure, you might meet someone who's, narcissistic or whatever, who maybe is manipulative in some way, who's, not being their true selves even. And then you start to see these glimpses of who they really are. You won't excuse those anymore like you used to. You'll go, okay, this is red flag I'm seeing. Okay, I'm gonna, maybe I decide to give them a chance. Maybe I don't. But we can always learn something from every relationship we have, even if it's 10 minutes long, right? Like we could learn something from that possibly. So with the soulmate thing, what I want you to know is just because someone's your soulmate doesn't mean it's for life. You don't only have one soulmate. Somebody put it to me as if it's like, a quilted blanket, and you have all of these. It's like it's your soul family. Some are romantic, some are your friends, some are your family, whatever. And just because they are that doesn't mean they're always in your life. And, it could be maybe a soulmate is actually someone you met on a bus and talked to for 10 minutes. And they said the one little thing that you needed to hear right then to spark something else that gives you this really expansive growth in your life. And like, you don't even know their name. And being open to, okay, sometimes soulmates are for a long time and sometimes they're a short time. And just because someone feels like they're my soulmate doesn't mean I have to put up with bad behavior. And doesn't mean I don't need to listen to my body telling me something's off, or I don't feel good in this relationship, or I don't feel good in this home, even with this person. Like, that's your body telling you, hey, your contract's done. It's time to move on. And, if we can get to that point of trusting ourselves and trusting those intuitive hits that come to us, we can really take charge of our own life and make these choices of choosing who I want to be, choosing how I want to react, choosing who I want to allow in my life, and having the confidence to know that there's nothing wrong with telling someone, that you don't want them in your life. And so I hope that something here has resonated with you, but don't allow yourself to stay unhappy in a relationship just because you're afraid of not finding another. That's just, I promise, when you get through the grief and, that initial breakup hell, I'm not going to call it hell. When you get through that breakup, just all those emotions and the grief, it's a place that you can get to. It just takes some time and work. And of course, should you need someone to work with, I obviously do this work. This is all I do. I love doing this work. I live this work. So, but be gentle with yourself. Something I say on every group support call that I do is please give yourself love, give yourself compassion, give yourself grace, and give yourself just so much unconditional love, because you are absolutely worthy of it. Like, there's no question in my mind. The reason you exist is because you are worthy and you are good enough. And sometimes that's the hardest thing for us to say. So my challenge for you, if you want a small challenge, is every day look in the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and say, I love you. I am good enough. I am worthy. And at first you may not feel it, but that's okay. Because the more you say it, the more you will believe it, and it will change your life. Write it on your mirror. As my mentor, Marissa Peer, always says, she has I'm enough written on her mirror. I have a lot of things written on my mirror. And every time you're looking in that mirror, even though you may not realize it, it's going into your subconscious. We're creating new highways of thought. We're creating a new program. And that's what we want. We want to choose how we want to be. We no longer have to sleep to the fact that we do have some control in our life. And the only control we have is of our thoughts and our beliefs, because our thoughts are making our beliefs. And we can choose those. We don't have to keep the beliefs that we have been given and programmed with, starting in childhood. We don't have to keep those beliefs. We can think about, okay, what is my belief about this? And where did that belief come from? Maybe, a belief I was raised with that I heard more than once was, you get married and you have two kids, one to replace you, one to replace your husband. And when I discovered that you could get married and not have kids, it was like mind blowing to me. I was like, oh my gosh, what? Like, that's a choice? Holy moly. It shocked me. And having that knowledge gave me some power. Like, oh, and that was one of the first times that I realized, oh, there's not just one way, and I was in high school before I really figured that out. So, if you're just figuring out, that's okay too. We wake up to choice when we do. And, so realize you have choice. Please give yourself grace, give yourself love, give yourself compassion, give yourself forgiveness. Forgiveness is huge to give ourselves. I understand some people don't want to forgive other people, and that's another conversation, but we have to forgive ourselves. We're living with ourselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And why are you punishing yourself by not forgiving yourself? It's time to let go of what you did in the past. It's time to stop punishing yourself. It's time to give yourself that forgiveness and release the anger you have at yourself, release resentment you have at yourself, whatever those feelings are, it's good to acknowledge our anger and those other feelings, but we don't need to live there and we don't need to punish ourselves for years. So quit doing that. And if anybody has any questions, please reach out. I love comments or questions or whatever. And if you want to be on my show, The Art of Pivoting Your Life, and on my website, zenmindmichelle.com, under, what's it under? I know it's under podcast and media. I think it's in the media is the actual menu name. So in the media, you'll see a link to get booked into my show. It's free 30-minute coaching session. We record it, but your face is not on it, just your voice. Unless you want your face on it too, that's fine. And you can really, we can get a lot done in 30 minutes. And sometimes it goes a little over. But if you want to be on, I welcome you to be on about anything. It doesn't have to be relationships, but I certainly love talking to people about relationships and about, especially if you're feeling stuck or whatever, we can kind of, I feel like my job is to help you see things from a different angle and understand that, you do have some choices, even though sometimes it doesn't look like you do. So I hope everyone has a fabulous day and, enjoy, like right now, where I'm at, it's kind of cold out, but the sun is shining. So I'm going to enjoy some sunshine. And I hope that you get to also do that and have just the most fabulous day.